Hey there guys, welcome back to Texas Beer Reviews, and on this episode we will be looking at Elysian's Space Dust IPA. So this is their India Pale Ale, coming in at 8.2% alcohol by volume, so kind of more like a double India Pale Ale. And they use Chinook hops to bitter, and late and dry additions of Citra and Amarillo. So we just started seeing Space Dust here in Texas. I don't know about inner city stuff, but up here in Atascocita, we just got some of this. And this was bottled on November 28th, so so pretty fresh, within 2 months. And yeah, I've never had this beer before. I'm pretty excited to try it. I think, back when I was first getting into craft beer, this was, I don't know if it still is or not, but this was one of the Beer Advocate Top 250 beers, I think, from what I remember. And so since then, I've always kind of wanted to try it. Of course, it, became, I guess, a bit more available once they were bought out by Anheuser-Busch, I believe. But anyway, yeah, so it's the first time I'm seeing it, and excited to check it out. Now, the way IPAs have gone, I guess, with the New England styles and kind of what I can get here locally with Yellow Rose. Very interested to see if this still kind of holds up to, I don't know, comparable to what we can, I guess, get now, kind of what's available. So I don't know, this is a West Coast style or what. I think these guys are out of Washington. Yeah, Seattle, Washington. And Fort Collins, Colorado. So it looks like they've got two different ones. I wonder where this one's coming from then. Probably Colorado. So pours out this really actually nice color here. Vibrant, kind of a bright orange hue to it. Pretty hazy. And nice kind of fluffy white head. And actually looks really good. Looks very much similar to Yellow Rose. Maybe just a tad kind of a darker, brighter type citrus. I don't know. Yellow Rose is a little bit more yellow, golden kind of color. This is more of an orange. Kind of looks like a tangerine. So anyway, check out the aroma. Definitely has that West Coast kind of bright citrus pininess to it. Bit of that earth character too. A bit resinous, but really not too intense at all. It's got some mild tropical character to it. Pretty big, like navel orange and grapefruit. That's kind of the main thing I'm getting here, is a bit of that kind of herbaceous earthiness to it. And some nice citrus and grapefruit, and a bit of, or pretty decent amount of pine too. So, yeah, it kind of reminds me of some of the brash beers that I've had in the aroma. Maybe not as intense, a bit more mild, but definitely has a bit of that nice, juicy West Coast style going on the aroma here. So check out the taste. Cheers. Okay, yeah. Definitely West Coast. Big grapefruit. I was wondering if I was going to get any type of candied citrus on this, and I'm not. I don't know this guy. Big grapefruit, bits of orange, but it's not like a sweet, bright orange. Definitely more of a grapefruit character to it. Pretty earthy. That kind of like, sort of more dank soil-like character to it that you get out of some of those earthier IPAs like that. Definitely some pine as well, and a bit of that. There's a bit of malt character to it. It's got a solid malt backbone. Definitely more hop forward, but has that kind of West Coast IPA type of malt backbone to it, which is just like a hint of that caramel, but it's not too malty, Mouthfeel's pretty nice. I'd say medium. I'm kind of forgetting that this is actually a double IPA, or I guess it's listed as an IPA, but really the ABV puts it in the double IPA range, over 8%. It drinks a lot. It drinks like, something that I wouldn't, if I just had this, I wouldn't guess this probably was over 8%. I would have thought more of, 6.5 or something. Pretty easy to drink too. The bitterness is it's solid, but it's not too assertive. You know, it's definitely lingers, but it's not overly intense. And carbonation's pretty spot on too. It's got that kind of bright carbonation. It's not really soft, but it's pretty bright, but just not, you know, over carbonated, anything like that. But it doesn't have like that soft, you know, it's got the West Coast type of style to it on that. It doesn't have like that soft, pillowy mouthfeel you get out of, you know, New England style. So. Overall, it's pretty good stuff, you know. Now, like I was wondering how this kind of compares at this point now to what we have around. You know, I've mentioned before, of course, that I prefer the New England style type of hoppy beers over the West Coast. This is still really good, but yeah, with what we have now, as far as, I mean, even just locally Yellow Rose, but, you know, when you're talking about Trillium and Treehouse and things like that, it just doesn't, excuse me, it just doesn't seem as, you know, incredible as it may have seemed, you know, back when this was first being brewed, and, you know, things like Pliny and all that were kind of the big thing, those big citrusy, earthy, you know, intense West Coast IPAs. You know, of course, now the big thing is New England IPAs, and I prefer that style myself, of course. Some people don't. But, you know, to me, you know, I would pick, of course, all of those, you know, Trillium, Treehouse, any of their offerings, and Yellow Rose, of course, locally over this. But it was really, really cool to try, and just to kind of, you know, since I've wanted to try it for so long. But, yeah, it's still a really good beer, really solid stuff. You know, especially for the West Coast style. I think that if you like that more citrusy, piney, earthy type of character to it, this is definitely one that's pretty good. Definitely one of the better ones, I would say, that I've had. I would still go with Brash over this for most of their offerings, if not all of their hoppy offerings, but not by much, to be honest. So, you know, and of course Brash is, unless you want to drive on, you know, into Cross Timbers and stuff, or any of the bars around here, or you don't, you know, obviously live in Texas, this is going to be a bit easier to find, I'm sure, wherever it's distributed. But with that being said, I'm going to go a very solid 4 out of 5 on this beer. Really good stuff for the style. But if I were to, you know, pick up an IPA locally, I'm going to grab Yellow Rose. I think, you know, and some of the batches have some variation, of course, but the last batch that I got yesterday is pretty solid. So most of the time, Yellow Rose is fantastic, and there's really not anything else locally that I want to pick over that. But, you know, if you're looking for something a little bit cheaper and you may want that West Coast style a little bit more, definitely want to check out near the area. So that's pretty much it for this episode. It's gone on a little bit longer than I expected. So, but as always, think global, drink local, and